What's up everybody, Z3KO Trinity here. Today I'm going to be doing a review on Star Wars. Not the whole thing, just The Last Jedi. Now, I don't obviously own The Last Jedi movie since it just came out, so I'm just going to be showing you guys tidbits of stuff like this. But I went this past Friday and watched Star Wars The Last Jedi. And I cannot do a spoiler-free video of it, so I have to do a spoiler video. But for the first part of this video, it's going to be spoiler-free. I'm just going to express how I felt, whether or not I think it was worth watching, worth the wait, and stuff like that. But as a true Star Wars fan, I did not personally want nothing spoiled for me, and thankfully nothing was. So I want it to be the same for you guys if you're clicking on this video and is watching it thinking that I'm going to spoil something. I'm not. So let's get into it. Star Wars The Last Jedi, which of course takes place right after the Force Awakens movie. It doesn't take place literally right where it ended. It has this action scene with Poe Dameron fighting for the rebels, and then it gets to Luke and Rey. But this movie was very good, but at the same time it has its faults. And to me, I personally, when I first watched it, I absolutely loved it. But now that I've kind of calmed down for that whole Star Wars hype, and I went back and was thinking about it, and I watched an interview with the guy that directed the movie, it started going downhill for me. It's not one that I absolutely hate. Like, I don't hate any of them. I love every single Star Wars movie ever made. My weakest one would have to be Episode 1, Phantom Menace. I think that one's probably the most, like, boring / just not that great of a movie. But I love Star Wars. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I don't own very much of Star Wars, so that's why you don't see a collection video. I might do a collection video in the future, but hopefully I'll increase my collection of it. I'm just kind of running out of space. And speaking of space, I love this movie. This movie's set in space, if you didn't know. But I did love the movie. It does have its faults. If I had to give it an official rating, I would give it a 7 out of 10, simply because of it was just disappointing in some ways. But like I said, I'm not going to spoil nothing for you guys. That's just personally how I feel. When I first watched it, I absolutely loved it. But when I go back and think about it more, I just, I don't know, I just felt like it was a letdown in some areas. But there are some areas. There's actually 5 parts of the movie that I absolutely fell in love with. And I'm going to get into that right here. This part of the video is spoilers. So if you guys have not seen it, you have been warned. Everything I'm going to talk about from here on is basically the entire movie, and I'm going to give how I feel about it and an official rating at the end. So, but the first part that I absolutely loved was when Princess Leia, or General Leia, used her Force ability. Now, we all know Darth Vader is her dad and Luke is her brother. And Luke is pretty powerful. He's, a Skywalker. They're generations of, the Force is very strong with them. And we don't really see that with Princess Leia. But in this movie, when the ship part blows up and she's floating in space about to die, and she reaches her hand out and uses her Force to pull herself back into the ship to save herself, I just thought that was such an amazing moment for the movie. I absolutely fell in love with that. Next up, one of my favorite parts of the entire movie is when Yoda shows up. Now, many a times when I watched this movie, I thought back and was like, you know, in the previous Star Wars movies, people were able to come back as like an astro form and be able to speak to them. So I was thinking, if they're bringing back all these old characters like Han Solo and them, how come they don't show? I know they can't show Obi-Wan because the actor is dead. But I was thinking, Yoda, of course. And of course, I want Anakin Skywalker. I begged for Anakin Skywalker to show up, but he never does. But Yoda, when he showed up, I just immediately shed a tear. I was so happy seeing Yoda. And it was not the Yoda from, like, the first 3 episodes. It was actually the hilarious, the comical puppet Yoda that I love. So just seeing him return is just such a great part of the movie for me. That really is what spiked the movie up to me as one of the best Star Wars movies made. Number 3 was when I'm trying to think, because I'm missing one. I think I skipped over one. Number 3, I guess I'll give it to this because I did have 5 earlier, but anyway, number 3 is Finn and Rose relationship. Now, we all know that in The Force Awakens, it kind of led to the point where Finn had a thing for Rey. And I personally would have been okay with it if they continued that route. But I just kind of felt that those two characters were kind of awkward. And I just didn't feel like, they belonged together, if that makes sense. Because Finn, he's always wanting to run away. Whereas Rey, she always wants to, charge right in. So I just kind of saw their relationship status as pretty much separate. But here we introduce a character named Rose, who her sister had died saving, the day at the beginning. And Rose, which is just some, whatever she is, like, pod watcher or just a very low rank person on a deck. Basically a nobody. But she, her and Finn go on this adventure to try to stop or try to weaken the bomb thing so they can escape without them watching, because the First Order can sense them when they go into hyperspeed and stuff like that. So when they go on this journey, especially towards the part where she saves Finn from sacrificing himself, and then she kisses him and says that you have to sacrifice, you have to save someone you love or something like that. I'm actually going again tomorrow to see this movie. But just that part, I absolutely loved. And I can't wait to see more of those two together in the next movie. Hopefully, and also when she darted out, hit him, I thought she had died. I was going to get pissed right then and there. But thankfully, she's okay. So that was number 3. Number 4 is badass Luke Skywalker. Now, in this movie, Luke is kind of afraid that he's not living up to the legend of Luke Skywalker. The Jedi Master. So that's why he's kind of shunned himself. He can't forgive himself for what happened to Kylo Ren, which we get a back and forth kind of story of what really happened the night Kylo, snapped and killed everyone and burned the whole Jedi temple down. But ultimately, Luke feels that it's his responsibility. But when Luke shows up, or you think it's actually him, but it's just a hallucination, which was him doing the whole meditation on the rock thing. That whole scene was so perfect. From the very second he shows up, talking to Princess Leia, talking to his sister, to the point where he, gets shot at, comes out and just shoulder shrugs, and just such a badass. That right then and there, that is the legend of Luke Skywalker. And a lot of people are really upset that they killed him off during this movie, but I am so glad that he died peacefully, like Yoda. Just, he saved the day. He saved everyone. He became the legend that they all knew he could be. And then he just went with the sun. And here's a downfall. Perfect opportunity for Anakin Skywalker to show up. When he was, dying, I knew he was dying from the moment he collapsed on the rock. I was like, oh shit, he's dying right here now. And he's looking up at the sun, and the sun's coming up. I was gripping my hands together like this, and I'm like, please show Anakin. Have Anakin come and, take him with his son and just go on to the beyond. And it never happened. He just kind of disappears like Obi-Wan did and all that. So I was really upset that they did not do that, which of course they might not have been able to get the actor to do that split-second scene. I don't see why not, but just if it would have showed Anakin, and it doesn't have to be the guy from the first three, it could have been like any older guy and just claim that it was Anakin. Like, I felt like he should have showed up, but that's just me. I'm a huge Anakin / Darth Vader fan. And finally, the very last thing that I absolutely loved about the movie was the very ending. I thought it was brilliant, showing the little slave kid, and they were talking about, I will not be the last Jedi, you can't stop this, and there'll always be more. And I had that little kid, and he holds out his hand, and the broom comes to him, so the kid has somewhat of the knowledge of the Force. And he's looking up at the stars, and he sees the ship speed off, and then all of a sudden he's holds the butt end of the broom as a lightsaber, and then it cuts off. I thought that whole entire scene was absolutely brilliant. I was in love with that. That was the best ending to a Star Wars movie I've ever seen. Ever. Out of all of these Star Wars movies. I thought that ending was fantastic. Now for the downfalls of the movie, which is probably what all of us are going to agree. Number one, who the fuck is Snoke? Now, this royally pisses me off. During the movie, I watched it, and we all know that if we've seen it, Snoke dies. Which that part didn't bother me. Kylo Ren, Snoke's supposed to be this big, powerful, whatever, a Sith. God only knows who the hell he is. And they heightened him up so much to where they had a huge mystery, who is Snoke? And I personally, now this is just me and my own opinion, you guys let me know what your thoughts were, but in my own personal opinion, I was kind of thinking he was Darth Vader's father. Now hear me out. Smee, his mom, claimed that he had no father. So I was thinking they could totally make it to where she lied, because the dad, who was Snoke, was someone who was pure evil, and who they thought was dead a long time ago. Hence all his scars and the way he looks. But no, we don't learn a thing about him. We realize that Kylo Ren can outsmart him, which he does, and he takes that lightsaber, and pierces his side of his stomach, and then just force pulls it, cutting him in half. So after that happens, I was thinking, why? Well, who is he? Is it going to tell us who he was? Can he not die? Will he resurrect himself right then and there and just start laughing? But yesterday, after I finished the movie, I looked. Well, yesterday weren't Friday, but yesterday on Sunday, I saw an interview with the actual director of the movie, and he claimed that he says that Kylo Ren should be their main threat. He feels that Kylo Ren's character has to have such importance that he needs to be their main threat. So that's why he chose to kill off Snoke. So that way the next movie, the main threat is going to be completely Kylo Ren. And I guess that's also why he kills off Captain Phasma, which was a badass character, and I loved that fight scene. It was a little too short, but I loved the fight scene. But it makes it pointless. Why create the character in the first place? Like, seriously. It was a big waste of time. Big waste of time. They could have done so much with Snoke. Like anything, honestly. It was just like one guy thought of, oh, Snoke, he's going to be this badass guy. And then, okay, now it's your turn to direct the movie. Another guy goes, I don't give a flying fuck about Snoke, so I'm going to kill him off. Then what's the point? And second, Rey's parents. Now, for 2 solid freaking years, me and my friends at work have been discussing, well, the friends that like Star Wars anyway, have been discussing who we think Rey's parents are. Now, it's a possibility that Kylo did lie, but the fact that he had, or when she was in that whole water-like dark side thing with a million of her going, and she asks who her parents are, but sees only herself, and then Kylo's like, you already know the answer to that, and she's just like, yes, I do. So it makes me feel like, okay, she really has just shitty parents, like nobodies. Nobody of importance. No Obi-Wan Kenobi. No Luke Skywalker's daughter. Nope. Her parents actually were dumbass junkers who sold their daughter for food. That's it. Now, in the interview with the director of the movie, he did say that Rey, he felt that he should do a Anakin Skywalker approach with her. He said, think, Anakin Skywalker, his mom was a slave, was a nobody, but yet he was very powerful with the Force, and he ended up being the most powerful. He wants to do the same with Rey. So her parents are apparently nobodies, and she's just very, very powerful with the Force. Whoop-de-doodly-doodly-doo. So I thought that was very, very disappointing. Otherwise, the only other thing that I found was a waste of time was the entire character of, I forget her name, it's that little Yoda-like girl with the big-ass glasses. It shows her once in this movie. She's in some kind of battle, just fighting some kind of battle, and doesn't explain anything about how she came across Luke's lightsaber. God only knows if we'll answer that question. But we might find out in the next 3 after this whole 3-movie saga is over. He'll do like they did, do prequels. But she tells them that they need to find the code breaker. Opportunity to introduce a badass new character. Just got to find a guy with like a rose thing at this gambling like place. What's the point in this? It was absolutely nothing. The guy, they found him. Didn't turn out to be shit. I thought it was a great opportunity to have Lando come back. But I don't know if they couldn't get the actor to come back or not. But I thought that was a perfect opportunity for Lando to show up. But turns out that they see the guy with the pedal. He's just some, hot shot. gambler, and turns out they don't even need him. They get put in prison. And that's where they meet the true code breaker, some dumbass who ends up betraying them, I think twice in the whole entire movie, and which leads them to their ultimate fight with Captain Phasma. So, in the end, I felt that entire thing was pointless. But this is just my own personal opinion. What did you guys think of the movie? You don't have to comment below. I mean, you can comment below because otherwise I won't be able to tell. But, in case if people are watching this, and, well, I've already spoiled everything. So if you watch it and have not seen the actual movie and you got to this point, then, you did that to yourself. But I loved the movie, but there was so much opportunity that they could have had to make it so much better. Should they have killed Snoke in this movie? That's not the problem. Making Snoke a nobody was the problem. If they wanted to introduce him as some kind of mindfuck, Darth Vader's father or whatever, by all means it would have been so much more better. Or had a clear picture of who he was, what he was trying to do. Now let's talk a little bit about that with Kylo Ren. Now Kylo, he does not want to be a Sith. He does not want to be a Jedi. He wants it all to die. He ultimately wants a balance in the Force, which is what everyone wants. But he wants to kill all the Jedis, and he wants to kill all the Siths, and just rule over the entire world, become a dictator, a dick potato, if you will, and just basically keep control of the world. Now, who does that sound like? Anakin Skywalker in Attack of the Clones had told Padme that he wanted to do something similar. He wanted to rule the galaxy and have a watch of them. So maybe that's why they pushed that for Kylo Ren's character. But, I don't know. The next movie, the only one thing... Excuse me, sorry, I just got off work. But, the one thing that I do know, at the rate they're going, either Chewbacca or Carrie Fisher, I'm 100% sure Carrie Fisher, well, Princess Leia, is going to bite the dust. I'm pretty sure Carrie Fisher is going to bite the dust. Oh, Jacob, she passed away. That's messed up. But I believe her character is going to be the one biting the big one next movie. And hell, they might as well kill Chewie off as well. It is the last one after all. Besides if he makes 3 more. But yeah, that's my review of the whole movie. There are parts that I missed that I have not spoke of, but the parts that I never spoke of, I really liked. Like the whole training with her, I liked. Just like everything else, I really, really enjoyed. It's just those are the main points that really knocked the movie down for me. And just watching the interview, hearing this guy from his own mouth say that he felt that Snoke really shouldn't have been a main villain just kind of ruins it for me. But what do you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. Hopefully you guys agree with me. Hopefully there's not too much hate. Everyone has their own opinion. So that was just mine. Thank you guys so much for hearing me out. Star Wars is amazing. Love Star Wars. Loved Rogue One. I loved every last one of them. Even Force Awakens. I absolutely love Force Awakens. So I had my hopes up big time for this movie. And it was great. But we're trying to find a balance here. Like, we're trying to say, I want a movie to be excellent. But at the same time, you have to have that balance. There are parts that you're not going to like. Well, this one I don't think it's balanced. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm Z3KO Trinity, and I guess see y'all in the next video. Discooskies.